Hello and welcome to the new video. Today we're going to take a look at a very fun Pokemon for the Open Great League. We're going to have our Tyranitar here. Tyranitar has a new move since this season, which is going to be Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will help this Pokemon out quite a bit because you're gonna get to this charge move a little bit faster than compared to Crunch. You need like 5 less energy, which results in you needing 1 less fast move, which is really important for this Pokemon because you're very squishy, you don't really get that much energy generation going on with like Smackdown here, so it's really helpful for this Pokemon. We're going to take a look at this one today here as well in the Open Great League. This team worked out actually really well. I actually gained Edo with this team, which is something I didn't really expect. I had a pretty rough start, I think, with this team, but then went on a crazy streak later on, and honestly, Tyranitar swept teams on its own, which was really wild. So stay tuned for those games as well. They should definitely still be in here as well somewhere. I had to cut out some games because I did like 4 sets with this team. Had a lot of fun though. Like honestly, this Pokemon has so much potential in the current meta for whatever reason, because there are so many Pokemon that's going to be good against. For example, here, Sableye, but also Noctowl, but also something like a Lickitung. Like, there are a lot of Pokemon that are currently relying on the Ghost type damage, so Dark types are going to be better. But also this would counter, for example, something like an Umbreon, which would be really decent. Of course, your hardest answer is going to be the Medicham. Medicham going to be completely unbeatable for this Pokemon here, but at least we're going to have a neutral matchup with my own Medicham, as well as a positive matchup with the Noctowl in this team here, which is going to help this Pokemon out way more, because you're going to be able to counter those counters for the Tyranitar. Also, Noctowl itself, as I say, Swap, is a little bit risky because you're going to most likely get aligned against something like a Lantern somewhere. But even against this Pokemon, you would still do a lot of damage against it. Here we're going to now encounter an Earthquake from the opponent. In comes a Fairy type, which is going to be Clefable. Luckily, it's not a Charm user because, as you're going to see here right now, our Tyranitar is going to be able to smack them down. We don't really care about what they're throwing at me. I could just go ahead, shield up everything here. It's going to be always a media mesh, but as you're going to see here already, Smackdown is just coming through. Smackdown doing a ton of damage against the opponent, enough to farm them all the way down. In comes the Galarian Stunfisk, in comes the Brutal Swing here, and Brutal Swing going to be able to get the final shit of the opponent. I can swap out here, go for the Ice Punch, gonna get them low enough to nearly knock them out, I think, with this one here. One more fast move and it's going to be a good game here. Good game there to my opponent. Of course, it was very lucky that's Fairy went, because as you can see here already, this team can struggle against Charm users. You have a lead that's going to be weak against, and you have also the Tyranitar. But there is not really a good way to play the Tyranitar, in my opinion, without having any kind of weakness. And I feel like there are not a lot of Charm users currently around, at least not in my elo rating right now. So I take the risk of being weak to Charm users, but still having some fun with the Tyranitar. Here we're going to see the Mirror Lead. This is actually something that I really don't like to see. I don't like to see the Mirror Lead against the other Medichams here, especially as the opponent makes a great play here. Catching the move on the Sableye, of course, was an obvious one that I'm going to go straight for the Psychic, but I can now go ahead and go into my Tyranitar and just try to farm them all the way down. I should be able to farm them down before they can get to 2 charge moves here, at least I hope. So they're going to go for the foul play here first. I'm still going to go for my charge move here. I guess I maybe could have tried to risk it, and I maybe should have actually risked it to do that here and try to go for the farm down and like let them knock me out if it like doesn't work, because I can still farm them down with a Noctowl anyway, so I guess it was most likely a misplay, but still might be fine here. I'm going to try to catch the next charge move onto my Medicham. It didn't work out, but they're going to swap out into their Bastion. But turns out Bastion against Medicham at this kind of range is still a pretty okay matchup for the Bastion, as they're going to be able to now knock me out with one of Flamethrower here, sadly. They're still going to be able to go ahead and smack me down here. And now I have to basically overfarm to 100 energy in order to win this game. I'm going to go ahead, go for the Shadow Ball here, hope that this knocks them out, and it doesn't. And this is going to lose me the game, sadly. I don't know if I would have won the MP, it really depends on the IVs. But yeah, this is going to be sadly a good game there. The Bastion was too much to deal with. Let's take a look at the next game. We're going to see a horrible lead for me. Deoxys defense is going to be also a core breaker for this team here, as both my Pokemon in the back as well as also my Medicham is not really liking this matchup too much. Noctowl matchup is actually kind of okay because you have access to the move Shadow Ball, but I don't really want to go into that one right now, because if I swap out of here, I'm risking having the Deoxys later aligned against my, against my Tyranitar. But like this, we're going to now be able to catch a Rock Slide. Amazing gameplay there by me, totally what I should have done. And gonna get out the Deogon, which is not really ideal here for me. But we at least got the Deoxys low enough that we might be able to smack them down later on. This is also one thing that you can do here, just try to get opponents low enough that Smackdown is still going to do enough damage to do enough, to knock them out later on, which is going to be definitely nice. Here we're going to see the Dewgong having access, of course, to Icy Wind, as well as the move Drill Run going to be a little bit tricky, as we're going to be forced to shield up a charge move here against the opponent. It's going to be the Drill Run. I'm going to swap out now. They're going to go into the Dubbo, and now going to go into their into their Deoxys here, so now it's going to be a tough one. I'm gonna go ahead and go for an Ice Punch here, trying to knock out the opponent. Let's take a look at this one. Going to knock them out here. Now it's only down to me, the Dubbo, and our Tyranitar. They have 2 shields. This is not looking good. We should be maybe even in range for 1 Body Slam here, but I'm not sure about this one yet. Let's take a look at this one. It's going to just barely not knock me out. We have 1 HP left, allowing us to go for the Ice Punch here, and they're actually going to shield this move up, which is going to allow us now to go for the Brutal Swing here on the CMP tie, and this is going to be enough to knock out the opponent, win us this game, and we can say good game to the opponent here, so we can go ahead and go into the next game. We're going to have an Azumarill against us here right now, which is going to be a little bit tricky to deal with for this team as well. But actually, our Medicham can kind of go toe-to-toe with that. And if you get this Pokemon low, we can actually farm them down later on with our Tyranitar. So here we're going to be able to catch a Play Rough onto our Noctowl, which is really nice for me, as I'm now going to be able to go ahead and try to go for Sky Attack, but they're actually going to go ahead and go for their Ice Beam before that. Not going to knock me out, but I can now do some pretty decent damage against them back there, which is going to put them into range, or I might be even able to farm them all the way down and definitely get to another charge move here. So I will be able to realign, which is super important for this team. Is we're going to see the Sableye coming in, and they cannot even farm me down. I can still get to a Sky Attack here, trying to get them low with that one. They're going to let this move go through, and our Tyranitar is going to smack them down. In comes the Toxicroak though. This is not looking ideal, especially as the Tyranitar is now super low thanks to the counter being double super effective against us. We're gonna go ahead and try to bait them the entire time here with Ice Punch, as this is our best bet, as they're gonna bait me with a Mud Bomb. It's just a bait game at this point of time. I'm gonna shield up the next charge move from the opponent's going to be another Mud Bomb coming through, as we're gonna bait them with another Ice Punch here. This is going to back and forth here right now the entire time. I have to try to go straight for the Ice Punch because they have more energy than I do, and this Ice Punch is coming through here, going to get them low, but not knocking them out, as they're going to snipe me here with the Sableye. And it's all down now to the Tyranitar. Is he going to be able to smack them down, but they still get to a move that's going to knock us out, or not, we just barely survive. Go for the Brutal Swing here, and this Brutal Swing going to knock out the opponent. Toxicroak there, good game there. What a game, honestly, I just enjoyed that one so much. We're going to have a horrible lead here for us with the Charizard coming in. I try to go straight for the Sky Attack, which should allow me to get a shield from the opponent here immediately, but now it's kind of difficult to play it around here, because do they go for the Blast Burn here? I should shield. If they don't, I should let it go. But yeah, they're gonna go for the Blast Burn here. So yeah, kinda down there, as we're going to have to go ahead and go into our Tyranitar. Sadly, I survived 1 Smackdown there, even though it did more than 40%, I think, of their health. But we're going to have to shield up the incoming Blast Burn. In comes a Cresselia. We have 2 fast moves advantage here. Is this enough to knock out the opponent then later on with a Brutal Swing? I am curious. They didn't throw it at a perfect timing. They're going to go for the Moonblast here as well instead of the Grass Knot, which is going to be nice, as they're going to be able to outspeed them to the Brutal Swing. In comes now Brutal Swing, going to knock out the opponent, and in the bag we're going to encounter a Sableye, which is going to get hit by the Brutal Swing as well, and Tyranitar is completely smacking down the opponent here, destroying 3 Pokemon back to back to back. Honestly, that's so wild there. What a sweep by Tyranitar. Next opponent, another Deoxys defense. This time around, I'm swapping out immediately here, which maybe wasn't the smartest idea, but I tried to just get to the Shadow Ball, try to get some damage onto them. And this actually works out pretty well for me. I can shield up the move here, which most likely going to be like a Thunderbolt. And we're going to see now the Altaria coming in, which is going to be fine for me. What I can do now is, I can go for the Sky Attack here and try to lower them. And they still have to definitely go for a charge move here right now, which is going to be nice for me, as it's going to be even the Moonblast. They're going to get the attack drop for whatever reason, 10% chance, of course the opponent gets that, but it doesn't really matter too much, as we still have our Tyranitar. And 3 Smackdowns later, this Altaria is going to go down. We're going to swap out immediately into our Medicham against the opponent's Deoxys defense. They still have a little bit more HP left than I want them to, but they're going to go ahead and go now into a Noctowl. At this this point of time, I'm just going all or nothing onto our Tyranitar. We're gonna go ahead and go for one Ice Punch here. We're still gonna reach the next one in time as well, which is going to be very nice, but it's still not really looking too good for us, as we're gonna get them. Actually, they don't even want to shield this move up here either. Why? I'm going to shield this move up here, hope that the counter is enough. The counter was enough to knock out the opponent, allowing me now to go ahead and go into my Tyranitar afterwards, go for the smackdown. It does more damage than I expected, allowing me to farm them all the way down, and we can say good game to the opponent there, as this one was such a nice game. Another Charizard in lead. Not ideal for me. I can try to go for the Sky Attack, but they catch it on a Lantern. Great play by the opponent here right now. I'm going to be able to now still at least go ahead and go for a Shadow Ball here against the opponent, which hopefully going to be good enough to knock out the, like not knock out the opponent, but get them low enough that I can farm them down with my counter on my Medicham. It's going to be a tough one, though, as we're going to see here, we're going to get them into the yellow health, allowing us to go into a Medicham and farm them all the way down. Let's see here, they're going to go ahead and go for a double surf, I think, as the first surf coming through here, the second surf is coming now afterwards, and it's going to do a ton of damage against me, putting me, oh, it's even a Thunderbolt, putting me into the red health here. I'm going to swap out immediately, I thought, but no, I'm going to go for the Ice Punch for the incoming Charizard, but it's a Lickitung. And this is so bad, because the Psychic would have done so much more damage. They're going to swap down to the Charizard and go for the CP tie. This is such a bad scenario for me here right now. I'm gonna go ahead and now smack them down with my Tyranitar. They don't go for a charge move, and now it's all or nothing. We're gonna have now the Lickitung against our Tyranitar. At this point of time, I think I get to 3 moves in time here with the Brutal Swing, but I'm not 100% sure about this. Lick is of course resisted, which is really good for me, but it still does a ton of damage here, as you can see already. I'm gonna try to go ahead and now farm them all the way down until I have 2 moves, but they're going to be able to now get to a 2 body slams. This is going to be a good game. I still get my fast move through, but this is going to knock me out here. Even though it's resisted, it's stab. Never mind, we still survived. Tyranitar is going to town again. Honestly, I was so surprised about most of the matchups that I had with this Pokemon. It was so wildly good, like I actually didn't expect it. Of course, you have to keep their shields alive for this Tyranitar, because Tyranitar is doing a ton of smackdown damage, but cannot really take a hit. So you're going to get the defense drop onto the opponent's Medicham, which is really lucky for me, but in comes a Grand Ball. And if they play that correct here, there's not a lot that I can do here in this matchup anymore. I have to go ahead and go for 2 Sky Attacks here. This is my only answer for Charm users against the opponent here, going to be my Noctowl. And I'm going to try to go ahead and try to knock them out in time. Let's take a look at this one. We're going to be able to go ahead and go for a charge move here. But as you're going to see already, this is not going to do enough, as they're going to shield up the move here. And I can now try to smack them down, but they're still going to be able to go into their Medicham right now. I should have waited out longer. Like, if I wait out the switch clock longer, maybe I still had a chance. But like this, I didn't, and this was my own mistake. Definitely my own fault for not waiting out the switch clock longer. We're going to see a Hexorus in the lead. What a spicy Pokemon, but we can take a Breaking Strike pretty easily, and counter is going to be resisted. They're going to stay in here for a little bit, allowing us to get a shield from the opponent here, so you're going to be able to go ahead and go for the Ice Punch. Gonna get the shield from them. They're going to swap out into Dugong. This is not really ideal for me, because I cannot really swap out of here. Dugong is now already in that matchup for too long that I cannot swap into my Tyranitar. Should have swapped out into that one immediately. But I didn't. Like this, I can still at least farm them all the way down here. And we're gonna get out now the Hexorus again, most likely with counter. I can go ahead and go for one fast move here. They're gonna go for their own charge move, but I'm going to swap out immediately. You see me here tapping on the right side, swapping out as the opponent going to go down here, and in comes a Toxapex. Can we still win this with our Noctowl and as well as with our Tyranitar? We will find out shortly here, as you're going to be able to go for the Sky Attack and do some pretty decent damage against the opponent. In comes another Sky Attack here. That's going to get even more damage onto the opponent here as well. One more Sky Attack should be enough to knock them out, but they're going to go ahead and go for the Sludge Wave here right now. Let's take a look. We're going to be able to still get to the Sky Attack here. This will do a ton of damage. Gonna get the shield, and we can swap out now. Gonna be able to go for the Brutal Swing and knock them out here. Good game there. Good by your opponent, as he can go ahead and go into the final game. Another Hexorus lead, but this time around I swap out into the Pelipper. And this is going to be a tough one here, because Pelipper is actually going to be able to outspeed me here for the next one as well. So I'm forced to go for the charge move here. This is a CMP tie, and if they want to shield, they can go ahead and knock me out here. And it's going to be even worse, because this charge move actually didn't knock me out. They might be undercharged here as well, and they're gonna get this extra fast move in. This extra fast move going to allow them to get to another charge move here, which is really not ideal for me, as the Weather Ball is coming through. We're gonna see now the Hexorus coming in here again, and now we're going to hopefully do a ton of damage against them, but they're going to shield this move up. I can swap out here, and they're going to catch the move onto the Cresselia, and this is going to be a hard counter matchup right now. The Noctowl is going to have to pull so much weight here, as basically the Cresselia going to knock me out here easily. Like, Medicham against Cresselia is one of the worst matchups for the Medicham, and the Noctowl in the back is still going to have a lot of stuff that they have to do. Like, it still has to knock out so many Pokemon, as I'm going to be able to go for at least Ice Punch here to get out the Switch Clock here as well. I can swap out into my Noctowl. In comes now the Moonblast. I should be able to take one here, right? Moonblast going to not knock me out. In comes the Haxorus. I'm pretty sure that Sky Attack doesn't knock them out at this range because of the debuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and go for the Shadow Ball, which does a little bit more damage, and it's just enough damage to knock out the opponent's Haxorus. In comes the Cresselia, they can farm me down, but our Ice Punch is still stored, and we were able to win this unwinnable game there. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it one. If you did, please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already. There are 2 videos on the screen. Check them out if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.